When Luna first walked into the Spencer estate, she thought she had found her safety net. Bill Spencer had opened his doors. Not out of affection for her, but for the baby she was carrying. A child whose paternity was tangled in family secrets and unresolved grudges. Yet, despite the cold detachment Bill masked with false civility, Luna clung to the illusion that she could survive this, at least until she gave birth. Will was her anchor then. The youngest Spencer, warm and kind, had taken to her presence with unfiltered compassion. He was the only one in that mansion who made her feel human, not a burden or a bargaining chip. Then everything shattered. It began with a dizzy spell. Will had been laughing with Luna in the garden just hours before. But that night, Bill found his son unconscious, collapsed beside the staircase, skin pale and lips trembling. Luna was the first to reach them when she heard the shouting. She saw the panic on Bill's face, a rare crack in his otherwise unshakable armor. She saw the way his hands trembled as he cradled Will's head and barked orders into his phone. The ambulance came fast. The ride to the hospital was a blur. Luna held Will's hand the whole way, whispering that everything would be okay, even as his body jerked with pain. But nothing was okay. The diagnosis came swift and merciless: late-stage liver cancer. Advanced, aggressive, no surgical options. Painkillers barely made a dent. And Will, sweet, generous Will, was slipping. Luna spent nights by his bedside, flinching every time his body twisted in agony. She watched as doctors tried cocktail after cocktail, only to shake their heads. Will smiled less. He spoke less. But when he did, it was always to ask if she and the baby were safe. That was Will, concerned for others even as his body betrayed him. And in those moments, Luna realized something terrifying. The one person she had begun to rely on was dying. Fast. And Bill? He spiraled into silent fury. He didn't cry. He didn't yell. He commanded. Security doubled at the mansion. Medical staff were brought in around the clock. Every corner of the estate was locked down. Luna, once free to walk the gardens or visit the kitchen for tea, now found her every move monitored. A tracking bracelet was politely handed to her under the guise of safety. A lie. Cameras were installed in every hallway. Staff members whispered less. The few who dared speak to her avoided eye contact. Then came the decree. "You're staying here, Luna," Bill said, his voice like frost. "You're carrying my grandchild. I won't let anything happen to either of you." It wasn't care. It was control. She knew it. Luna nodded. She pretended to understand. She kept her head low, played the part of the obedient houseguest. But inside, something else had awakened. A cold, sharp resolve. She wasn't going to raise her child in a prison gilded with marble floors and surveillance. Not under Bill's roof. Not while the one person who truly cared for her lay dying. Not when her future was being written in fear. She began to plan. At night, after the guards did their rounds, she memorized patterns. She listened for the sounds of footsteps, counted the pauses between each hall check. She feigned late-night cravings to wander the kitchen and studied the layout. Even found a loose panel in the laundry chute. She stole moments to swipe a set of keys from the second-floor maid cart, returning them before sunrise. Every day was a step closer. Every fake smile brought her nearer to the door. Then came the worst night yet. Will screamed in agony. His body contorted. He fell from his bed, convulsing. Nurses rushed in. Alarms blared. Bill's voice roared through the halls. Luna, already half-dressed, clutched her go-bag. Down the back staircase. Past the dining room. Toward the service exit. She didn't make it. On the threshold, a hand grabbed her arm. She spun, ready to fight, but stopped. It was one of Bill's security guards. She knew his face, quiet, always watching but never cruel. He leaned in, his voice a whisper only she could hear. "Northgate, 20 paces past the oak. There's a break in the fence. Go now." Before she could speak, he shoved her gently forward and turned back toward the house. Luna didn't wait. She bolted. The night air hit her like ice. Branches cut her face as she crashed through the trees. Her lungs burned. Her heart pounded harder than ever. But she didn't stop. Not when the cold metal of the fence scratched her arms. Not when the mud soaked her shoes. Not even when her belly ached from the strain. She ran. At sunrise, she reached the edge of the city and found a burner phone hidden inside a storm drain. Exactly where the guard had told her it would be. On it, a single message. Address: warehouse. 9 p.m. Come alone. She didn't recognize the number, but she recognized the initials at the bottom of the message. R. Remy. The name itself felt like a ghost. A connection to a past life. Remy, the elusive figure with ties to the underground, the black market, and more importantly, the truth. He had once offered Luna information, proof that Bill was hiding more than just his son's diagnosis. Back then, she hadn't believed him. Now, she had no choice but to follow the trail. That night, she reached the warehouse on the city's edge. Rusted metal walls, a flickering street lamp above. The door creaked as she entered, half expecting it to be a trap. But inside, sitting calmly on a crate, was Remy. Older, more worn than she remembered, but his eyes still held that cutting clarity. "You came," he said. "I didn't have anywhere else," she answered. He tossed her a folder. Thick, heavy. "What's this?" she asked, flipping through. Medical records, lab scans, charts with redacted names, except one. William Spencer. 3. Luna's stomach turned. "These aren't from the hospital," she whispered. "No," Remy said. "They're from before. From a private clinic in Zurich. Tests run months ago." Her hands shook. "Bill knew?" Remy nodded. "He's known for a while. He kept it from Will. From everyone. The painkillers were a distraction. The real treatment, experimental, dangerous, he refused it. Said he'd rather keep Will close, under his control." Luna nearly dropped the file. "Why?" "Because he was losing him. And because he's terrified of losing control. Over Will. Over you. Over that baby." Luna closed the folder. The rage inside her, long simmering, began to boil. "I'm not going back," she said. Remy nodded. "Good. Because the only way you survive this now is to disappear. But not without a weapon." He tapped the file. "Truth," he said. "Truth is the only thing that will set you free." Luna clutched the folder. She thought of Will, pale and trembling, thinking his father was doing everything to help. She thought of the baby growing inside her. Of a life that could still be hers if she had the courage to keep running. And as the night deepened, the next chapter of her story began. Not as a fugitive, not as a prisoner, but as a mother ready to fight back. Bill Spencer was not a man easily shaken. But watching his son waste away from late-stage liver cancer had broken something elemental in him. In the silence of Will's hospital room, with machines hissing and monitors blinking like countdown clocks, Bill stared at the frail boy who once lit up every room. That spark was fading. The doctors were out of solutions. Painkillers no longer dulled the agony. The once vibrant Will, his pride, his youngest, his blood, was slipping, and there was nothing he could do. Nothing except control what was left. Luna was the last variable he could grasp. She had been a complication at first. A young woman pregnant with a child that might carry the Spencer name. Entangled in scandals and secrets. But now, she was something more, a living thread tying Will to a future he might not live to see. When Will smiled, it was at her. When he reached for comfort, it was her voice he sought. And Bill saw it clearly. If Will had any reason left to fight, any scrap of willpower to resist death, it was Luna and the baby. So Bill made a decision, cold, calculated, and final. He summoned Luna to the study one evening. She entered cautiously, aware of the eyes watching her in every hallway. The cameras clicking softly in the corners of every room. Bill gestured for her to sit. The contract was already on the desk. "I've arranged everything," he said, his tone flat but resolute. "The best obstetricians. Private maternity suite, trust fund for the child. Education. Healthcare. Everything your child will ever need. All you have to do is sign." Luna stared at the document. Her name was printed in bold. The clauses were airtight. In exchange for lifelong financial and medical support, she agreed not to leave the Spencer estate until the child was born. And, pending further negotiation, potentially longer, her movement would be restricted. Her communications monitored. It was a legal prison wrapped in luxury. "You want me to be a hostage," she said quietly. "I want Will to live," Bill replied, his voice barely above a growl. "Or at least die believing he has something to live for. You're that something. You don't have to love him. You just have to stay." Luna didn't sign. But she didn't walk out, either. Because in that moment, she realized that her freedom, her child's freedom, was slipping through the cracks of marble floors and iron gates. She was already in the cage. The paper was just the lock. That night, she used the one lifeline she had left. She texted a single word to a hidden number, "Help." Remy responded within minutes. The message was short, "Call me. Secure line. Don't use the mansion's network." They spoke in whispers. Luna tucked behind a curtain on the far end of the east wing, where the signal barely reached. She explained everything, the contract, the security, Will's rapid decline, and the hopelessness thickening in every hallway of the estate. Remy listened. Then he said, "There's a trial. Experimental. It's not FDA approved, but a research team in Eastern Europe is testing an immunotherapy compound. They've had a few miracle cases. They're desperate for candidates." Luna's breath caught. "Could it save him? I don't know. But it's a shot. The kind your precious Bill isn't willing to gamble on because he can't control it. But I can make it happen if we get you out of there." She paused. "How?" Remy outlined the plan. A team posing as a medical equipment transport unit would gain access to the estate under the pretense of delivering specialized machines for Will's palliative care. The equipment would include a modified transport pod, coated and secured like a high-grade incubator. Luna would be inside. They would leave through the same gate they entered. She wouldn't have more than 5 minutes between loading and exit. Any delay, and it was over. Luna agreed. She spent the next 2 days preparing. She played the part of the docile mother-to-be. She smiled when the nurses checked her vitals. She asked questions about nursery colors and feeding schedules. Bill seemed satisfied. He even softened, telling her she was doing the right thing. But beneath her calm exterior, her pulse thundered. The day came. The truck arrived at precisely 3 p.m. The staff had been briefed in advance. Bill had signed off on the delivery himself. No red flags. No suspicion. Luna was helped into the container, a padded chamber with vents and a hidden oxygen mask. It was terrifyingly cramped. Her fingers trembled as the lid sealed shut. She could hear muffled voices outside, feel the truck rumble beneath her. Everything was going to plan. Then came the scream. The entire mansion shook as Will's cry tore through the walls. His body, racked with pain, spasmed uncontrollably. The sedatives weren't working. He fell from his bed. Blood vessels ruptured. Nurses shouted. Alarms screamed. Bill rushed into the chaos and noticed immediately that Luna was gone. He issued the order instantly, track her. Now, the GPS embedded in her bracelet lit up. A red dot moved steadily away from the estate. Bill's eyes narrowed. Intercept. Meanwhile, in the truck, Remy's team got the alert. We've been made, the driver muttered. Remy, riding in the cab ahead, made a decision. Change of route. We go to the lab. Now, they veered off the freeway. Within minutes, they reached a hidden access point beneath a textile factory on the outskirts of the city. The lab wasn't legal. It wasn't licensed, but it was equipped, discreet, and staffed by one of Remy's oldest contacts. A rogue physician named Drive. Sveta Novak, exiled from 2 medical boards for her obsession with curing the incurable. She didn't flinch when Luna emerged from the crate, pale and shaken. He's the boy from the Spencer file, Sveta asked. Luna nodded. Bring him here, the doctor said. I'll risk my license. My life. But I won't do it blind. Remy hesitated. We'll have to take him. Bill will never let him go. Luna looked down at her abdomen, then back at Remy. Then we will. Back at the Spencer estate, Bill paced the hallway like a caged lion. The transport team had vanished. The GPS trail ended at a signal jammer. Luna was gone. And now, he had to deal with Will's blood pressure plummeting, his oxygen levels crashing. And still, through the pain, Will whispered one name, Luna. The next week would bring war. Bill would mobilize his private security to trace Remy's underground network. He would offer bribes, favors, threats. Meanwhile, Remy and Luna would risk everything to smuggle Will to the lab. There, Sveta would begin the experimental treatment. A last-ditch gamble with unknown side effects and no guarantees. But for Luna, this wasn't just about Will anymore. It was about reclaiming control of her life, her child, and the truth Bill Spencer tried to bury with money and contracts. And in the dim glow of the underground lab, as wires connected and the first round of treatment flowed into Will's veins, Luna held his hand and whispered, "Fight. For you. For us. For freedom." The battle had